All right, we're back for a lesson about investing. All right, I have my auntie Carlos here. All right, and here we go. So, starting from the top. When I first started investing, I was pretty young, maybe about 18, 19. I was working at Staples first. There was a guy there, so I'm starting from the top again. Taught me about dividend reinvestment plans. He gave me this book. I was probably the only person that read it, and that put me on a path to learn about investing. Initially, I didn't do dividend reinvestment plans, but essentially, I did learn other techniques along the way during reading that book, essentially. So basically what a dividend reinvestment plan is, essentially there's just things called dividends. When you have a stock, oftentimes you can get different, which is like a sliver of their profits that they give to you at various different time periods. Then you can reinvest that into the same stock. Basically, that's a dividend reinvestment plan. So I learned about that. That put me on a path there to start investing. Around the time I left Staples, I worked at Subway, and I made some real sacrifices, right? You don't have to have a lot of money to be an investor, right? I remember, not skipping lunch, right? Not buying lunch so I can have some extra change to throw into the stock market. So, not saying you have to be that extreme, it depends on your circumstances. But if you have the determination to invest, you can invest. Like, don't count it out, right? It depends on the sacrifices that you're willing to make. So that's another thing I want to talk about, which is mindset. So, mindset. Well, what do you mean by mindset? Well, when I say mindset is what I just described to you. There are people who are probably broker than you are right now. I'm probably hitting that on the head. I'm not saying that you are broke, but what I am saying is that I'm trying to drive in mindset. So imagine back then I was probably making what was minimum wage in like 2014? Probably like $8 an hour, I think. Now I think it's 16. But imagine you're making $8 an hour, and then you're working at Subway, but the sandwich is like, you got the $5 foot long, so you have to spend almost $1 of your earnings. Maybe you want to make it a meal, right? So instead of spending it on that, right, I had the mindset to succeed no matter what. So I invested that in the market. Eventually, the little sort of grouping or little piece of change that I put into the market, it turned into $1,000. So essentially, that I use what's called dollar cost averaging within a single stock, okay, at this point, to get started. And what dollar cost averaging means is just investing a little bit over time into a stock. It could be an ETF, and we can talk about that later. So just a little bit over time, okay? And eventually, you'll see gradually your stock will be worth more money over time. Now, but what's the end goal, right? What's the reason we're doing this in the first place? It depends on your personal goals. Maybe you're tired of working, right? Maybe you want to retire one day. Maybe you have children and you want them to be well off. You don't want them to have to think about a job. Maybe you just had a baby and you're like, shoot, I don't want them to work as hard as I'm working. So this is an option: dollar cost averaging, dividend reinvestment, and you have the right mindset. And those are the three basic components to go as far as you want to go with regard to investing. So I went from working at Subway, okay, to investing what I can, sacrificing eating, which I know sounds crazy, okay, but I had the mindset, like I said, to going from $0 to $1,000, okay, and then 4 years later, I sort of dropped the ball, right? So I was not consistent, I guess you can say, when I was very young. That's being young, right? What are you gonna do? But 4 years later, I started investing again, using different strategies, being more risky, I guess you can say, to get more reward, because I was very young back then. I'm 31 now, but I don't think I want to day trade these days. So I'm more into dollar cost averaging. But anyways, so I was able to build up my income, go from, I don't know, so I got to 1,000, right? 1,000, whatever. That's 1,000. And then I got back to 0. And then 4 years later, right, I built it back up, okay? And then I got to the point where I had enough investments to get a house. So I got a down payment for a house. off of investing into my investments. And the combination of being able to do that and just living below my means, which is part of mindset, which I was sort of describing before, I was able to get the down payment by leveraging my stocks in order to put that down payment on the house. So that's about it. So I'm not saying that you're gonna have the absolute same experience that I had, but what I can tell you is that if you implement these things, right? This, the mindset, DCA, and the drip, then there's no way that your life isn't gonna change, right? Your life is definitely gonna change if you implement these strategies here. Consistency is another thing, right? So what do I mean by that? So maybe you consider all these things today and you're like, okay, I invested just a little bit in the market. And well, that's what Miguel said, right? And that's what he did. No, keep in mind, 4 years, right? Okay, 4 years. Well, that's too long, Miguel. 4 years. How old am I gonna be in, I don't know, in 4 years from now, okay? But think about it like this, where you are now. Well, you'll probably be alive 4 years from now, right? Would you like to stay at zero for those entire 4 years? Or would you like to have something at year 4 and potentially get yourself a down payment to put in a house? Or do whatever you want to do, go on vacation, I don't care, right? The point is that you use these strategies to go from zero to something, okay? And that's really it. I know that's an oversimplification. What I do recommend is that to solidify the mindset, you read books. So like I just gave Antika, The Next Millionaire Next Door, which is a great one, to put you in the mindset to understand what do millionaires really look like. Like, I'm not a millionaire, let me just make that right, but you know, I'm planning on getting there, okay? Using this strategy. And maybe you will be a millionaire, maybe you won't, but I can tell you, with a combination of the books, these strategies, consistency, you're definitely gonna get closer, okay? And that's it. So, that's an oversimplification, but it really is that simple. I pretty much summed up a lot of concepts that are in that book right now, but I do still recommend that you read it.
I will.
Okay, cool. Even so, I think there's probably like less than 200. Say if there is 200, maybe like,
Pages?
yeah, but maybe like 2 pages a day or something,
Yeah.
or whatever. You'll probably read more than that once you get into it, because it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, that's a good writer. That's the second one. So his dad wrote the first version. So the Millionaire Next Door, but this is the next version, the son, the next Millionaire Next Door. So yeah, it's a good one.
Is this man and wife, Thomas Stanley and Sarah Stanley?
You know what? I think I don't recall. It might be written by both of them, or maybe dedicated to his wife. I'm not quite sure how that works. But I think in the intro it should probably tell you.
You know, I don't even know how to